Yo les gens, c'est Yakimaru et on va jouer à un jeu auquel je n'ai pas joué depuis des années et des années. À l'époque, quand il était sorti, j'avais fait plusieurs runs sur ce jeu et j'avais eu plusieurs fins différentes. Et en fait, c'est un jeu qui est extrêmement méta et qui joue constamment en fait avec ta façon de voir les choses, ta façon de jouer. Donc, je me demande parce que là, en plus, c'est la version ultra deluxe, donc ils ont dû rajouter plein de trucs. Donc, on va voir ça. On va voir ça. Mais je vous préviens, ça va être perché, hein. Ça va vraiment être extrêmement perché. Attends, on peut taper sur l'ordi? Non. Alors, ça c'est pour ce PC. Ok. Rien, rien, rien. Ma petite tasse de café. Bon.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tu n'as pas reçu le mémo? Comme dans Batman Begins. Tomorrow War.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Va te faire foutre, je vais à droite.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Je m'en bats
Perhaps
les
he wanted to
couilles.
stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Mais je m'en bats les couilles, moi je suis droitier, frère.
Yes, truly a room worth
On peut
admiring.
pas se prendre une
It
petite
had really
boisson?
been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley
Avec,
simply stood here, drinking it all in.
voilà, avec des tasses de café par terre. Des papiers, des cartons, des documents. Par contre, on peut...
Yes, really, really
Ah,
worth it
ta gueule,
being
la
here
voilà,
in the
ta gueule,
room.
ta gueule.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
On peut pas casser la fenêtre, là, putain, je... Pas la fenêtre, la vitre.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
J'adore quand le narrateur, il te dit quoi faire et toi, tu... En fait, le but, c'est de ne pas écouter le narrateur, en fait. Mais j'ai envie d'aller là, tiens. Allez. On va voir ce que ça donne.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now, in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Oh, le connard.
No, not the
Putain, le
right.
connard, je vous
Why
avais
would I
dit.
have ever
Je vous avais dit que le narrateur, il va nous troller pendant toute la run.
said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly...
Connard.
Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Espèce d'enfoiré. Bon, quand t'appuies sur X, il fait des bruits de clavier. Non, tu as pris, hein.
Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
D'accord. Putain, on se croit vraiment là dans un décor de... Oh putain. Oh!
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh... Who am I kidding?
Me dis pas que c'est toutes les fins possibles du jeu. Ah non, c'est toutes les caméras qu'il y a partout.
We'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
Eh, il est sérieux? Le jeu se fout de ma gueule.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ouais. On peut pas courir.
When Stanley...
Ça va vite.
Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change?
Putain.
Stanley, Did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Allez, vas-y, on passe par là. Putain, bordel de merde. Je sais vraiment pas par où passer.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before.
Ah, mais tu vas fermer ta gueule.
Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it
Arrête de
unlikely
vouloir
that we'll
redémarrer
ever
le
progress
jeu
by starting
là.
over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Bon, ok. Là, le narrateur il commence à me péter les couilles.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, fils de pute, va.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Quel connard, le narrateur. Ah, les coups de pute. Ok, donc en gros, je retourne dans mon bureau, quoi.
Aha! I knew we'd miss
Ah
something.
non, il a changé déjà.
Story. Here it comes. No,
L'histoire.
wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way
Oh,
and retrace
putain.
our steps.
Ah, mais il va me faire péter les plombs, là. Oh.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Putain. Et je vous avais dit que ce jeu était... Vous avez dit que ce jeu était perché...
We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay? I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Ah, ça va vite être chiant, ouais. Carrément, maintenant, il y a une flèche, quoi.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that? You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
Ah bah là, oui, hein.
Here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey
Arrête avec tes questions méta.
conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself?
Attends, mais, non mais alors là, c'est pire que Vice là. Il est pire que Vice dans Nier Replicante là. Insupportable le narrateur.
Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
Et pourquoi? D'ailleurs, la musique était
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
D'accord.
Make sure you study it closely. and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Ok, d'accord. Ouais, ok, d'accord. Putain, la musique est insupportable.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, no, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Je suis ta putain. Oh là là, mais. Oh ouais, c'est pas possible. J'y vais pas. On va voir comment il va réagir le narrateur là. Ou il arrive à me bloquer encore. Ah, je suis coincé, ouais. Il est vraiment vicieux le narrateur, hein. Très perfide, très méta. Mec, c'est vrai que s'il tape comme s'il avait un clavier sur lui.
Oh,
Bon,
no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
fuck you. Je n'ai plus envie de jouer. On peut taper des trucs? Non.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now,
On se fait...
yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
Ah,
Go
putain.
wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
D'accord, ok, le mec nous fait tourner en rond. Ok, on revient sur nos pas. Il est con, le narrateur, sa mère. Ouais, là, je suis en train de devenir fou, là.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Le jeu schizophrène.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute.
Mais il est sérieux?
Each door has to lead somewhere.
Espèce de
Which means that
connard.
somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door.
Putain, il est encore
that
plus
leads
perfide
here.
que quand j'ai joué il y a 10 ans.
And that, in turn, means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's
Je
origin.
lis même pas les
So starting
sous-titres.
from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're
Ah,
going?
mais
And
putain,
since
oh
the
là
answer
là.
is clearly yes,
Il est
then by all accounts, the
insupportable.
door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
C'est bon? Ok.
Oh,
La fin.
hold up, what's this?
La fin troublant. Tu vois la fin, le programme de la fin. Le narrateur relance le jeu.
You're telling me
Vous avez
that's what this
joué
is?
la fin
It's all
troublante
one
pendant...
giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game
What the fuck?
times?
Stanley essaie de suivre l'histoire, mais il est empêché.
That's really
Ne peut
how
aller nulle
all
part
this
ni faire
goes?
quoi que ce soit. Le jeu se relance
It's
tout
all
seul. Retrouver...
Determined?
Putain, mais c'est le
So now,
bordel.
according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My
Premier
mind goes
redémarrage.
blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me?
My
Why don't I
god.
get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be.
Philosophie
I don't
absurde et
want it to be.
musique.
I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped?
What the
Does
fuck?
that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle?
Oula.
Whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey.
Alors franchement les gens, si vous survivez à cette vidéo, je vous dis bravo. Parce que même moi j'en ai déjà marre.
And not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Oh. J'ai plus envie de sortir de mon bureau là en fait. Mais il y a un moment dans le jeu, dans mes souvenirs, où t'es coincé dans ton bureau, carrément.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Il a oublié le mémo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Attends. Non. Oh, on n'y est pas allé ici.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Eh ben
Feeling a
enfin,
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Bon, enfin ça devient à peu près cohérent. Oh. Broom. Closet. Ah, les
Coming to a
escaliers.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Bon, c'est quoi, pour une fois, on va écouter le narrateur. Ah, les décors. Ok, on a même plus le droit d'aller aux toilettes. On peut pas aller là. Oh, le bureau de...
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
On se dirait, tu sais, le bureau de...
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the key...
On se dirait le bureau de Monsieur Burns dans Les Simpsons.
Pad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2845. Attends, il a parlé de quoi? D'un coffre? Ah oui. D'accord, alors attends. 2, 8, 4,
Stanley just
5.
sat around twiddling. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing.
Mais
He
arrête de...
stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Putain, le narrateur, j'adore comment il me prend pour un abruti. Ah ouais, d'accord, c'est encore le plan foireux, quoi. Ok, vas-y, let's go, hein.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Vas-y, tu sais quoi, on est un thug. Thug, thug,
Although this
thug.
passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Ah ouais? Je veux bien voir ça.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the
Oh,
machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
mais
Stanley
je m'en
can't see the
souviens de
bigger
ça.
picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Ok.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What? Il y a quelqu'un qui a interrompu le narrateur?
And
Alors,
yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
alors ça n'existait pas avant.
When
Ouh.
every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ah, c'est une maquette. Ok. Ah, ils ont vraiment fait une refonte, hein. Putain, ça fait du bien quand le narrateur il ferme sa gueule. Ce sont des boutons. On peut pas... Ah si, on peut appuyer. C'est hyper méta. Deadpool aurait bien sa place dans ce jeu, tu vois. En fait, c'est le genre de jeu qui n'a pas de fin, quoi. Il y a tellement de possibilités différentes. The game is now paused. Begin the game again. Putain, je sais même pas où je vais. Je peux pas répondre. Il va se passer quoi, là? C'est quoi ce son, là? Complètement absurde ce jeu quand même. Hein.
Stanley stood on the roof. And finally, he pushed the number 9. He pushed the big red button.
Ah, on peut se baisser, c'est vrai.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Ok, mise à mort.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
On se fait malmener dans ce jeu. Ouais.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Voilà.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Aïe, aïe, aïe.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Ah, ça fait rien de plus que ça. C'est nul. Je pensais qu'il y a un truc qui allait exploser ou je sais pas quoi.
Is that it?
Ouais, t'as
Surely
vu?
that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Ah non, pas l'ascenseur encore là. Attends, mais tu passes ton temps à te faire troller dans ce jeu.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Est-ce que j'ai le choix?
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
What the
Just
fuck?
our little secret. Take a look.
Wow.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Un jeu se branle pas
You
mal.
see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity.
Putain, mais il saute au-dessus, c'est un truc de ouf là. Hein. Faut arrêter, hein.
Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Là, on se croirait dans un. Ouais, c'est très sobre, hein. Très sommaire.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Skyrim et Persona.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation, boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Ah, et on peut plus sauter là. La blague. Ce jeu... C'est un gros troll. Ce jeu est un troll. Attends, mais what the fuck? Je reviens en arrière?
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before.
What?
What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Putain, mais le narrateur, il est... Enfin, le jeu est hyper narcissique quand même. Hein. Ah, il se passe quelque chose enfin.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with.
Oh,
I don't know
putain.
how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Ah, il est vraiment chiant le narrateur là.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening.
C'est pas
I wish there was a
faux.
skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a
Le mec, il pète un plomb parce qu'il a eu des mauvaises notes sur Steam, quoi.
skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed. The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Oula. What the fuck? Hein? Nouvelle run.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh,
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I
on
have
est-
something very exciting
on
to
a
show
déjà
you.
passé par là, putain, mais c'est... What the fuck?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Hein?
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Si tu le dis, monsieur.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe.
En fait, j'ai l'impression que le jeu il se fout de la gueule de beaucoup d'autres développeurs et d'autres jeux. En fait, je pense que c'est méga méta et c'est comme s'il faisait la leçon en fait comment dire. C'est comme si le narrateur il trollait vraiment l'industrie du jeu vidéo quoi.
What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
C'est des jeux plus modernes, je devais le reconnaître.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Attends, ça se branle la nouille, hein. Je sais pas trop par où commencer.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim, watching your dreams crumble into dust.
Putain.
Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly...
Là, sérieux les gars, là mes neurones sont en train de se suicider là. Ça me... Là j'en peux plus, ça me trigger.
Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Quel bouton? Cela? Just right, too big. Mais attends, il parle de quel bouton cet abruti?
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Ok. Alors c'est un parti pris, mais bon...
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Ah.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Attends, mais il se fout vraiment de notre gueule, quoi. Y'a quoi ici?
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the trophy will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen. What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet? Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right, infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Et si je le fais pas?
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Vas-y, nique sa mère. Je vais faire l'inverse.
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Bon, comme quoi, vous voyez les gens, j'avais pas menti, ce jeu est extrêmement perché. Hein. Merch. Ouais, on va s'acheter des t-shirts avec marqué This never the end again. This end is never... Ouais. Cool. Cerveau... Ah. Non, je dois bien admettre que la version 2013, elle était pas comme ça. Mais le jeu est tellement méta que t'as pas l'impression de jouer, t'as l'impression de... Ah, je suis déjà allé là, c'est vrai. Attends, on peut passer par là? Non. Je suppose que non. D'accord. Et est-ce qu'on peut aller là?
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring...
Bon les gens, à plus, on s'arrête là-dessus.